Well, welcome to Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross. I am your host and resource for self-care and mindfulness. Today we are tapping into our psychic potential with psychic medium mentor Brandi Van. Brandi's passion is to help people to discover their psychic abilities so that they can fulfill their higher purpose to help others, live with intention in their interactions, and listen to their intuition. Brandi knows how alone and lost you can feel when you have the abilities and no one to turn to, and has made it her mission to help you develop your gifts so that you can live your most authentic life. Brandi, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here today with us.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So good to see you again.
You too. I always love your energy. I was having trouble with the M medium. I'm like, okay, there's too many M's in a row. So tell me, can you share your personal journey on how you discovered your psychic abilities and how it changed your life?
Sure. So I was a very young child. I think I was like 10 or 12 years old. And I knew that I had something going on because people around me weren't hearing or seeing the extra things that I was hearing and seeing. So I knew I must have had something, but I really didn't understand it. And I was really afraid to tell anyone because I thought maybe they would think I was crazy or that I was making things up. So I really just tended to ignore it and kept it to myself. But then when I was in my 20s, I was like 20 or 21, and my grandma was passing away. My family and I were all in her hospice room. We were all holding hands. And of course, we were crying because the matriarch of our family was passing away. But as she took her last breath, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. And so it made me look up. It was like a magnet in my stomach to look up above the bed. And when I did, I saw the most brilliant, magnificent colors. Like I don't even think they exist in our human earth. And they were forming a star and they were beating in and out like a heartbeat. And in that moment, I just knew, like, I don't know how I knew, I just knew that she was at peace, that she was calm, that she was going on to the spirit world. So I knew her life wasn't ending then. I knew this was not a goodbye. It was more of an I'll see you later. And everything changed for me in that moment. Like, I knew, okay, I clearly have a gift and I must have this for a reason. And I actually left the room because it was so profound. And I'm not a religious person, but it was so like such an amazing experience. And my family thought that I was too sad because, she was passing away. And here I was having this awesome experience of like knowing, I just knew I'd be able to talk to her again. I knew she would still be in my life, just in a different way. So it really transformed my view of death, and just everything changed for me in that moment. It was amazing.
That had to be an amazing experience. And, you talk about, and you bring a lot of good points because there's so many stereotypes and stuff that we've had, crammed down our throat. There's a lot of people, I think, that see or experience things, but like you said, they're afraid to say anything because, people, they think they lost your mind. And here you are, where obviously when you're losing someone, most people are sad. You'd probably feel like you'd get looked at weird if you were smiling because you had the revelation that you knew you were going to see her again, but not many people would understand that. Did you share that experience with anybody at that time, or did you still wait and kind of hang on to it and figure out how to deal with it?
Yeah, I waited years, like before I told anyone. And then once I did tell my family, it was like in the moment, you don't know what's appropriate, right? Like you don't want to, like they're grieving and I don't want to just like tell them what just happened. And again, maybe they thought I was crazy or making it up. So yeah, it took me years. And then once I did tell them, my cousins and my aunts and uncles, even my own mom, they like weren't surprised at all. And apparently they all have psychic gifts, and like just nobody talks about them. So I'm like, here I am as a child thinking I'm going through this by myself. And if people would have just talked about it, I wouldn't have felt so alone. So now I want to be like the spokesperson and have everyone just like, I can talk about it all day. And I encourage people to talk about it as well, because there's a lot of people that have these experiences, but they unfortunately just aren't speaking about them.
Yeah, and that's one reason why I love judgment free, because as we all worry about that, we all worry about, being judged. But, there you brought up another good point. You never know unless you ask or mention it. You went for years without saying something, then to find out that they also were having that experience. So, how can one identify their unique psychic gifts, and what are some of the initial steps to take in order to nurture them?
Sure. So, it took me years to even find my own mentor. It seems like there's a coach for everything in this life, right? Whether you play a sport or an instrument or, there's coaches for everything, but it was so hard to find a mentor to develop my psychic abilities. So my years of searching, it was like reading books and, listening to podcasts and watching TV shows, but like nothing was developing it. Like I had a lot of knowledge about it, but I still wasn't able to contact a spirit on demand and do a reading for someone. I wasn't able to tell them, the deceased loved ones to stop talking to me when I wanted them to stop talking to me. So it took me a long time. But once I found my mentor, I only worked with her for maybe an hour a month for 6 months. And then my abilities just skyrocketed. So what she taught me, I now have in my mentorship program. And the biggest things are, first, so it's meditation, but you take it one step further. So you take it to a visualization technique. And a lot of people, I'll tell them, imagine a red balloon in your mind. And they're like, well, aren't I just using my imagination then? And it's like, that's exactly what you're doing. So that's your psychic muscle. That's your third eye chakra or your mind's eye. And the more you can get that muscle strengthened, the better your psychic abilities will be. So that's a huge thing, is doing visualization techniques. Then the next step is to figure out which clair you are. And so if people don't know what the clairs are, it is your five senses. So, your sight, your smell, your touch, but they're basically on steroids, because you are using your intuition, which is your sixth sense, and you're combining that with your physical sense. And so that's the way that spirit can communicate with you. So I am mostly clairvoyant, meaning I see images, visions, symbols, and then I'm also clairaudient, meaning I hear the messages. So really tuning in to find out which of your clair strengths are the strongest will get you to be able to communicate with spirit the best.
Wow. Yeah. And of course, you mentioned a couple things, Sixth Sense, that movie. And of course, I think of Ghost when you tell me about people talking to you. It's just amazing that stuff is out there and that people, can do that. Did that ever freak you out when that first started happening, that you could hear
Yes,
and talk to
absolutely.
people?
Yeah. So it's crazy because the way I hear it is it's my voice, but it's not my thought. So when I was 10 years old, I really thought maybe I was crazy, because I people talk about hearing voices, and I'm like, I am hearing a voice, but it's my thought, or I'm sorry, it's my voice, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
my thought. So it took a while to get used to that. And then a lot of guilt came with it, because you don't know who the message is for, and you don't know who the spirit is that's talking to you or why. And you feel like, well, they know they can communicate with me, but what am I supposed to do with that? So a lot of guilt comes with it if you don't know how to harness that ability and really use it for your own good or for others' good.
I would imagine that's where it really helps, like you said, to have a mentor or someone that you can talk to, that can relate, that can maybe, help you, harness that, or, just kind of control it a little bit better and not, be so freaked out. So what are some of the common problems that others have when they're trying to enhance their psychic abilities?
So the biggest one by far is that they don't trust themselves. And I went through that as well. The self-doubt is no joke. I mean, your rational mind has been in the driver's seat your entire life. So for you to just try to switch that off and say, no, I'm going to listen to my gut feeling, I'm going to listen to my intuition, it's hard. I mean, I was doing readings and people would say oh, you're spot on. It's exactly what my grandma would say, or whatever it might be. And they're validating it, but you're still thinking in the back of your mind, am I making this up? It's crazy how, just to try to go through that battle of your rational mind versus your intuition. I mean, it's a real battle of trying to get your rational mind to say, hey, it doesn't matter that there's no science on this. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm subjectively experiencing, and you need to trust that. So I think a big thing is trusting in themselves, and then also trusting in the messages that they receive from spirit, because they might be afraid to say the wrong thing or to give the wrong message. So that is the number one thing that people have a hard time with.
Yeah, I would imagine. And I'm sure the fear of being, like you said, being judged, by others and stuff. I would think that would be a big obstacle to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too is the fear of the unknown, right? Because you don't know
Mhm.
what you're getting yourself into. So that's why it's really important to do it in a safe and a wise way of someone who has already gone down that path so that you aren't opening your energy field to something that could be negative or something that you don't want to enter your energy field. So it's really important to not just like dabble in it and play around with it because these things are real. So it's really important to have someone that, already knows what they're doing that can help you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could definitely see where that would, be a huge help because like you said, it's a lot, to take all that in. But I think a lot of that's starting to come a little more to the forefront with different things. We come from a society where we're so used to having to explain everything or, being to explain what happened or why or whatever, but you can't always explain these things.
Yeah, exactly. I always say like 100 years ago, if someone said we would have these cell phones or we would have the internet, they would have thought that person was crazy, and here we are. So you just never know. Like, there's just things that can't be explained and maybe we're not meant to understand them, but we have to just, come to that realization that maybe we're not going to understand everything.
Yeah, how many sci-fi movies did we go to that we thought, wow, that's wild. You'll never see that. And then all of a sudden now you have it every day. And it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, now what would I do without it? It's amazing how you
Yeah.
get dependent on that stuff. I was talking to someone else the other day, like something simple like a TV. If you don't have the remote, oh my God, how do you turn it on or change channel? It does still have buttons. Some of them have made it touch screen instead of there, so it doesn't stick out like it did in the old days. But it's funny how we keep progressing and getting used to things, and then it's like, heaven forbid it gets stripped because you're not sure how to go back.
Yeah, that's so
But
true. Yeah,
but
that's a
what
good
is the
point.
process of becoming a psychic exactly?
So I think the process for me anyway is first you have to know what a psychic experience is. So if you don't know that you're having psychic experiences, you don't know what they are, then you don't realize that everybody is psychic because we all have our sixth sense. We are all psychic. We were born with that sixth sense. So I actually have a free PDF if everyone goes to my website at brandyvan.com. And you can just sign up for my newsletter list. It's free, and you'll get a free PDF, and it's called "Discover Your Unique Psychic Ability." And what it is it's like a fun little quiz to show you what psychic experiences are, and then it also breaks it up by the type of psychic because there's many different types. There's healers, there's a medium like myself who can talk to dead people, there are intuitives or empaths. So it's not only are you seeing what a psychic experience is, but then you'll also be able to see what type of psychic you are. So, for an example, people have deja vu, and they might think that's an everyday human experience, but that's actually a psychic experience. Or if, like, let's say you haven't thought of someone in a very long time and they randomly pop up in your mind and then they call you later that day, that is a psychic experience. So, I think the first step is that you need to realize what is a psychic experience. Now, being a psychic is different than having psychic experiences because a psychic is someone who has dove into their abilities. They know how to use it in their lives. They know how to help and heal others with it. So they really have a control over it versus just having these random psychic experiences happen to you. So that's really the first step. And then the next step is realizing, making sure you have an interest for it. It's just like anything else. Like if you hate playing basketball, like you're not going to want to play basketball to figure this out. And this is the same thing. So you got to have an interest in it, and you have to want to do it. So that's like another step, just like any talent or skill. But then it's really important to trust the intuition. So a lot of my program is developing and trusting your intuition, and there's a whole host of other things as well, but those are like the main, I guess, first three steps, I would say.
Yeah. And be open-minded. I was gonna say it's funny that you mentioned the deja vu thing because a deja vu thing makes you feel like you've lost your mind. I I talked to my other, coach. She does the other show and stuff. I was talking because you setting up all these meetings and stuff with people, and this one particular person that I met with, and I'm like, I'm double checking my emails. I'm like, no, we had to reschedule. We never met. But I would swear we already had that meeting. I saw the background. I saw her. And I'm like, I'm double checking emails. I'm like, did I lose track of something? So I'm like, I just finally had to let it go. I was like, just wow.
Wow, yeah.
It
What,
was a
you're losing
serious
your
deja
mind.
vu. And it's like, we hadn't, I know I talked to a TV guest that looked someone similar to her in some area, but I mean, the background, the way her hair was, I'm like, I've already seen this and had this I felt like I'd already seen it and had this conversation, but me and her hadn't met yet. And
Wow.
I was like, okay, I've just felt like I lost my mind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, wow. Yeah, it's just, yeah, we're the different experience. I guess some people would get what, kind of like the hair standing up on their arms, or just that really weird kind of feeling, or maybe just a sense that something's off. Maybe you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah, or
Those,
like, even when someone can walk into a room and just get like a bad vibe from it, or maybe you kind of like turn around because you feel like someone's looking at you, but then nobody's there. So there's so many different ones. Or maybe you had a dream that came true, but like, you had the dream, and then like a couple weeks later, it's like, oh my gosh, I dreamt about that. So there's so many of them that, yeah. So it's really good if they take a look at the PDF that I created, because yeah, if you don't know what you're looking out for, you don't realize that you're having psychic experiences.
that is cool. So, is it really possible, do you think, then, to become a successful and a credible psychic, especially in today's world? I mean, I think it's getting better myself from what I've seen from where it used to be. But what do you think?
So what's really hard about that, like 100%, I believe you can become a credible psychic, but like think of the battle we already have. Scientists don't believe us, people are skeptical, people think we're making things up. And then you have like the people that are frauding people. So you have people that are out there to make the money, and maybe they are taking money and they're not even doing an accurate reading for you. So I feel like we already have this uphill battle. But people who are diligent with it and they can really hone in on it, it's actually a beautiful, amazing gift that they have. And so I wouldn't want them to, hinder their learning or stop their journey because of some bad apples out there. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I know myself, like when I first started out, it actually, my friend who's a life coach was like, why don't you do something with this? You clearly have a gift. You could be helping people. And I was just kind of like, that's for other people. That's not for me. Like, I was thinking maybe I had to be a famous, Teresa Caputo or someone. Like, I had to be a famous person. And she was like, no, like anybody can help, and anybody can heal. So that's really what got me on my journey. So if you don't have that support system and you don't have anyone around you that believes you, it's going to be a lot harder. But if you can believe in yourself and know you have something without a doubt, it doesn't matter what the people around you think. Like, just go for it. Because if you could heal someone, imagine if you could, give a message to someone who's grieving and help their grieving process, or someone who is, not healing well and you can help them heal. Like, there's so many amazing things that a psychic can do that people don't even realize. They might just think it's telling the future, and it's not. It's so much more than that.
No. Are you, so now I'm curious, are you ever able to talk to him and maybe get answers that a loved one was wondering, but never got to ask them?
Yes, I am. Yep. And that's why it's so important to trust yourself and to trust the messages you're receiving, because they might ask a question and you can tell it's so important to them to get that answer. So, you really want to trust that answer. And whether it makes sense to them or to you, or it doesn't make sense to anyone, you still have to give the message exactly how it's coming through. Because if you change it, now you've just changed the message that spirit has for them. But yeah, I've
And
had.
then you're not being authentic. And I know you are all about being authentic.
Yes,
So, yeah.
exactly. So you really have to get to that point where you're going to trust it no matter what. And like, so a lot of times people might be having like a like problems with the person's house. Let's say, like, should we sell it or shouldn't we sell it, or what should we do with their belongings? They didn't leave us a will. So those are big questions, and that's a big responsibility to put on a psychic medium. But if you can trust the message, and if you can get that connection, and now you can tell those people, this is what they want you to do. I mean, it really helps them, because now you've just alleviated that stress, and they follow the advice. But that's why it's like, oh, the fraudsters out there, like, I just feel like, oh my gosh, they just that's
Oh, well, yeah, you see all the stuff on the TV, so much dollars per minute, whatever. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, my family would be like that. They're like, oh yeah, sure. They're on the other end Googling, and
yeah.
Googling every information they can about you, or whatever, because we know we have Google, or the A word, and everything else around today that you can just Google up and ask and say, hey.
And
But
that's a
yeah,
great point too, because So my advice to someone to know that someone is not fraudulent, the very first question, ask them so that you know it's something that can't be Googled, so that you get that answer. And for a psychic, it takes a while to get good answers. So let me put it this way. So the first answers you might get are something very simple. What was their favorite rose or flower? Or what was their favorite color? Things like that. Because the spirit wants to make sure they build a rapport with the psychic. So they're asking little things first, and then it gets into the more deeper, more valuable questions. So if you can ask those first couple questions, and there's like, how would you know what someone's favorite color is or what flower is, right? That's not going to be on Google. And even though it's something small, it's still going to, bring some validation. But if it goes off the rails and like nothing is making sense, that medium should tell you right away, like, I will give you your money back. Let's try again a different time. Whatever reason this is not working. And there are different reasons it might not work, because there might be, some negative energy going on where their spirit guide or my spirit guide is blocking the message. Or if someone is grieving a lot, it's almost like talking through a brick wall. And so you can't get the message because there's so much grief there. So there could be reasons that are in outside sources that you might not be able to get the message. But a true medium will figure that out within like the first 5 or 10 minutes and then refund you or tell you to reschedule and try again. But if they keep going and they're taking your money, just like any other a plumber or a hairdresser or something, do your research first. Make sure they have testimonials. Even ask them, can I talk to a past client, so that that they didn't just write the testimonial themselves. Just before you give your money to someone, you want to make sure they're credible and that they'll actually be able to help you without being fraudulent. They're just giving us a bad name,
Well, oh yeah. Well, there's so many out there too, and so many scams and stuff going on nowadays. And then, we start to put up this rigid wall because you want to trust people, but then you don't know who to trust anymore. But I know we have a lot more to dive into, and you have a lot more wonderful information to share with people. So, but right now we have to take a quick break from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Hi, my name is Brandi Van, and I'm a spiritual medium and psychic development mentor who helps highly sensitive people to develop their psychic abilities. If you want to make a positive impact in our world, experience an abundance of peace, and find your higher purpose to help others, then I invite you to join my Jumpstart Your Psychic Abilities mentorship program. Go to my website at brandivan.com and click on Book a Discovery Call so that we can jump on a call to see how Spirit has been communicating with you and how I can help you take your ability to the next level. Once we find out you're the perfect fit for my program, you'll join a community of like-minded individuals. You'll learn how to listen to your intuition, connect with your spirit guides, and so much more. So book your discovery call today. I'm so excited to start working with you and to witness your amazing transformation.
And we are back. So I know we were talking a little bit too. You were mentioning before about the whole the psychic muscle and everything. So I guess my question for you then is, what are really the top methods to use to strengthen or develop that psychic muscle? Wow.
Sure. So I would actually love to do a little visualization exercise with your audience right now if they'd like to try it out. So
Sure.
What you would do is normally you would meditate for a few minutes. So it might be a little bit harder since we're not doing a meditation. But once you can get into that calm state, they can always, after they're done watching the show and try it again later after they meditate for maybe like 2 minutes. But once you get into that calm, relaxed state, with your mind's eye, with your eyes closed, I'm going to say to them, imagine that you're seeing a red apple. And so you want to try to sense that red apple in your eye. And it's really your psychic muscle, your mind's eye, that's going to create that apple. So the goal there is you want to see the shape of it and you want to see the color of it. That's what our goal is. And even though I'm using the word visualization, some people might just sense that the apple is there. They might just know or feel that the apple is there. And that's how you're going to figure out which clairsense is the best for you. So some people might actually be able to visualize it, and some people might just know it's there. You could bring in a red crayon and color the apple red, or you could see it drawn on a piece of paper. You could see yourself eating the apple, whatever you have to do to see that apple. And then the next step is once you've seen the apple, you want to throw it up in the air. You want to defy gravity. It's never coming back down because we want to try to trick our rational mind. Our rational mind wants the apple to come back down, but we're trying to use our intuition here and we don't want to have our rational mind in the way. So you throw the apple up. And the reason for that is we also want to get movement. So now we've seen the shape, we've seen the color, and now we want to see movement. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason is the more vivid your imagination can get, or the feeling that you get, or the sense that you get, whatever your clairsense is, you'll know that you're creating it, but you'll start to gain a sense of that feeling or what it looks like. You'll get more in tune with your feelings of what you're feeling whenever someone says, visualize this. The second reason is that you'll know when you didn't create something, and that's how you'll know something came in from spirit. Because if I say create an apple in your mind, but then let's say a picture of an ocean shows up, you're like, wait a second, I didn't just create this ocean, so now you'll know that spirit's giving you that message. And the more that you get into it and the more you do these visualizations, the clearer it will be, whether it's a visual, whether it's a sound, whether it's a feeling. And so you'll really be able to connect with your intuition and also connect with spirit. So that's one way that's really good to develop your psychic muscle.
Wow.
So
that's really cool. Did you be able to do that? Yeah.
Yes. And then you take it like a step further. So now like you pick a different color, like a yellow ball. And I don't care what size it is, but you'll try to imagine the yellow ball and then you'll try to go left to right with it. So you can keep going with every color, see balloons, see different fruits, whatever you've got to do to keep like going. And like I'm at the point now where whether my eyes are closed or open, I can see every color of the rainbow. I can have them going up and down, moving left and right. And because the more practice that you do, the stronger that muscle will get. Now, in saying that, you only want to do these exercises for like 20 to 30 minutes a day because you don't realize how much energy your mind is expending when you do these exercises. So just like if you were to go to the gym and you haven't been there in 5 years and you go for 2 hours, you're going to be sore and you're going to be exhausted. And this is that same thing. It might not feel like you're doing anything. You're just sitting here in your seat, but you're actually expending a lot of energy. So it's important to keep hydrated and to really take care of yourself while you're doing developing your psychic abilities because you are expending a lot of energy. So before I move on to the next step, do you have any questions on that?
No, that's cool. And I was going to say, you wouldn't even think that really, but it would still be exhausting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand that. No, so go ahead.
Sure. So the next step is to develop your intuition. And so a lot of people think that they are listening to their intuition, but it's a little bit tricky. And there's actually whole mentorship programs just on how to develop your intuition. But developing your intuition is a 4-step process. So the first step is that you want to ask it a question. If you don't ask a question, how are you ever going to get an answer, right? So you got to ask it a question.
Right.
And start off small, like, should I eat a burger for dinner later or a salad? Just like something small and try to get like a yes or no type of answer or a multiple choice answer so that it's very clear on what the answer is. The next step is you want to feel in your body what the answer is. And so it's not a thought. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it in your heart or in your stomach, or maybe you'll get chills or whatever that feeling is. So the more you ask the question, the more you'll be able to figure out what that feeling is in your body when it gives you an answer. but it only will come in the first 4 seconds. So if you ask yourself a question, you only have 4 seconds to get on the intuition boat. If it goes into that fifth second, your rational mind is now in the way and it's thinking like, no, I want a burger later, even though your intuition said a salad, or, like, so your rational mind's going to get in the way on that fifth second. So it's very instantaneous. It's something that you need to feel right away or hear, or whichever one of your senses are. Maybe you'll see a visual, like I was saying before, whichever one of your senses is giving it to you. 4 seconds. That's it. Once you get that answer, the third step is to trust it, because your intuition wants you to live an authentic life. And it works along with your spirit guides to know why you're here and what lessons we're here to learn. And it wants us to learn. So it's always going to lead us to our right destination. So it's really important that even though your mind is saying, I want that burger, if it's saying to eat the salad, you have to trust it, because maybe you'll lose a couple pounds, or maybe you'll have more energy tomorrow. You don't know, you might not know what the reason is right away of why it's giving you the answer. And maybe you'll never know, but it's always going to lead you to that right path. So trusting it is the third step. And then the fourth step is that you need to act on it, because if you don't act on it, why'd you ask it anything in the first place?
Yeah, I think a lot of times they call it your instincts. It's like, oh, I should have went with my first instinct. So first instinct, intuition. So I can see how that would be the same thing. But yeah, if you wait too long, or if you're an overthinker like I am, you just start going. Then it's like, damn, I should have went the first way.
And that's what we're trying to avoid, right? Is those moments of like, I knew I shouldn't have done that, and you did it anyway, right? So we're trying to avoid those, because your intuition is always going to lead you to the best possible outcome. So yeah, so acting on it, because if you don't act on it, then yeah, like I said, why'd you do any of the steps if you're not going to actually do what it says?
Right. So for those feeling lost or alone with their abilities, what advice and guidance would you offer them to help them develop their gifts further?
Sure. So, the best thing I think to do is to find a like-minded community, because if you can find a community that is not going to judge you, that that they're having other experiences just like you are, it's a lot easier to talk about it and to develop it, because if you're more comfortable in your skin and you're more comfortable talking about it, that's how you're going to eventually get to the path of developing it. So a lot of people might have family members that, think it is woo woo, or, think it's not real. Or a lot of people think it's against their religion, which religion is actually very separate than spiritualism. Religion is, a group. It's worshiping something. It's going to church, but a spiritualism and developing your psychic abilities is a personal journey, a self-growth journey, a journey to, communicate with spirits. So it's actually two different types of thought. But if you have learned your whole life that developing psychic abilities or being spiritual is against your religion, then you might start to think that. But they're actually two different types of thought. It's two different things. But having that like-minded community is great. And you might have to do a lot of Googling, right? Because you might not know where they are right away. So you can go to like a yoga studio, or you could go to a crystal warehouse, places like that, metaphysical stores. Those are going to be your people that they also believe in this type of thing. There's even meditation centers out there that they're going to believe in it, so that you can start to even create your own group of people, put it out on like Meetup or something and say, hey, I'm looking for like-minded individuals. If we could all meet up. Or maybe there's something going on in the community that you wouldn't have found before. So that's a good place to start. But, if anyone wants to talk to me, I'm all about it. So, if you have an experience that, you can't find that like-minded person, like, let me be that person for you. Even if you don't join my program, if you just need someone to hear you out, tell you you're not crazy, not to judge you, and just to give you some little bit of feedback or advice on what you're experiencing, I'll be that for anyone.
Yeah. And if they can't tell by now how much energy you have, how passionate you are about it, how easy you are to talk to, then, I'm not sure what to tell them, but obviously you would be very easy to talk to. I have met a number of people, more and more people actually, that have these different abilities. And so I've been coming across a lot more of them. And it's really amazing to me. It's kind of incredible to see it coming out, because I ditched the whole, scientific thing. It's like, kind of learning to start to just embrace what you can't explain. It's really pretty cool when you open up your mind and let that happen.
It
But
is. And I actually feel like now, like where I am in my life, because spirituality really brings out a positive outlook on things. It gets you to, when you're having a bad, excuse me, when you're having a bad experience of like, why is this happening to me? You now change that to, what is this teaching me? What am I going to learn from this? So it really changes your view on things. And so I actually like feel bad for people that maybe think that we die and then it turns black and nothing's there after this life, or they don't have that spiritual side to them to create, gratitude, or to really cultivate a lifestyle of knowing that we're all connected and to know we're all here to help each other and have our higher purpose. So yeah, I feel like they need to get on the boat. They're missing out.
yeah, I've had people ask me, well, what do you think happens when you die? I said, I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. It's just not something I normally, dwell on. I just like live for, the moment and today. I don't,
Yes.
Can't change the past, and, don't know what's going to happen in the future. No one, I mean, we can see certain things, but stuff always happens or changes.
Yeah. And that
So
makes sense why you're mindful Mondays, right? Because you are living
yeah,
in the present moment. Yes, that's great.
I am mindful enough to protect my own sanity.
Yes.
So I obviously it'd be easy to work with, and I know you have a mentorship program for people. You talked about it a little bit with your ad and stuff, but can you describe what your ideal client would be for your mentorship program?
Sure. So my ideal client is someone who knows they have a gift, and maybe they're like completely overwhelmed and frustrated because there's so many like one-off classes out there, like, oh, pay for this class and it's 1 hour, or pay for this 5-day course, but then you don't have anyone to talk to. So those self-study courses that you're taking and then don't have anyone to ask advice for if you get stuck or lost on it. So someone that knows they're spiritual, knows they have these abilities, but they are just completely lost on where to get started. You can take all of those one-off classes, you can read a ton of books, but the way I structured my mentorship program is to really accelerate the learning so that they have that starting point, so that they don't have to like look for years on where to start. I have it so that you're starting and you know exactly what to do, and you're going to get it accelerated within 90 days so that you're not sitting there taking years and years to figure it out on your own. So I would say that's my ideal client for sure. And usually those people are highly sensitive or empaths. Because they're the ones that can really tune into energy and have that feeling of energy around them.
Yeah, and anyone that knows me knows, or I've already introduced you to some of them, but yeah, there's a lot of highly sensitive people and communities and stuff out there, and having those communities and the support, I believe, is huge, because I always say we can do more together, and then you don't have to feel so alone or feel like you're, people are wondering, what's your issue. I
Exactly.
would look at it as they're just jealous because they can't.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what are some of the outcomes that people receive after completing? You have it's a 90-day mentorship program, right?
Yes. So it's 90 days. And by the end of the program, I can help them obviously trust their intuition wholeheartedly so that they have that self confidence to do a reading for someone, to trust the messages that they're getting from spirit, and to really connect with divine energy so that they realize, we are all interconnected and we all are here for a reason. But along with that, I also can teach them how to create income from it, because it is an investment, and I most people, if not all, that have these abilities want to help other people. So I also give them the tools of what type of readings you can do, so that you can create income for yourself doing something that you absolutely love, like I'm so blessed to do every day. And then also finding their higher purpose, because if they know that they're not living up to their full potential with their abilities, then they're not living like an authentic life. So if I can get them to discover that they are a healer or that they are a medium and they can do these, you have that sense of a higher purpose that will really bring satisfaction and meaning to your life on an everyday basis, which is like so amazing. But
Well, and you can help bring peace and meaning to others too, that can't, like you said, that can't get it or don't have the abilities, or maybe they're kind of open to it, don't have, I mean, there's so many situations, but I'm sure you could bring peace to, people that may need it. And
yeah. And also that you'll also be able to see that positive impact you're having on people, because even though people will cry during my mediumship readings, and I always ask them, like, you sure you want me to continue? But they're crying for healing reasons, right? Not because they're sad, but because they're healing. And so it might be hard to see someone crying, but to know that you're helping them, it just pushes you forward to keep wanting to go. So if you can see the profound impact you're having on people's lives, if I could just tell a quick story about my one client.
Please
So
do. Yeah.
my one client, he was kind of like telling me what he was experiencing, but I didn't know what it was. And so I really had to dig and do research for him. Here, he's an angelic healer, and he can actually channel Archangel Michael to heal other people. So, yeah, at first it was like, is this coincidence? And of course, he's doubting himself, and I'm even doubting him because, like, I'm not sure. I can't do this, so I don't know if it's a thing. But, as his like rate got insane of getting these people better, like people during COVID who were like on their deathbed, and he would heal them and pray for them through Archangel Michael, and they would go home, and now they're like doing fine. Just a couple months ago, he prayed for this little baby who had been in the NICU her whole life. She was in there for 11 months, and he only prayed for her. In 3 days she went home, and now she's doing fine. And so when it's story after story like that, it's like, this is not a coincidence. This is actually happening. And again, I can't do that, but like, because my program got him to do that, like, how awesome, right?
That's got to feel good to be able
Yes.
to do that and help someone be able to make that kind of change and impact.
Yes, it's awesome. So, and within the 90 days, I have everything like written out, and then videos, just like how we did here, of a visualization technique so that they can really develop their psychic muscle. And they also have access to me at all times so that they're never stuck. And we also have bi-weekly Q&A calls so that they can ask questions and have that like-minded community of the other students that are also in the program, so they can celebrate wins and talk about, what their challenges might be. And it's great whenever I have someone like at the end of the program and then someone at the beginning of the program, because they can see how far that person came. Because there's always a point in the middle of it where they're like, I don't think this is working. And, I have to tell them, it's just like going to the gym. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to keep working at it, and encourage them to keep with it. So it's great whenever they can talk to each other as well and have that community.
Yeah. What is your favorite out of all of the things that you're able to do? What is your favorite?
My favorite is talking to the dead people, for sure. As long as they respect my boundaries, and, and I have my open and close sign on, as long as they only bother me while I'm open. Yeah, I love giving mediumship readings because it's amazing how you can help heal someone, because they're basically like having another memory with someone that they thought was lost forever. And for me to be able to channel that, I can't even describe how it makes me feel. It's so amazing.
Yeah. And I remember the first time you told me about that, the open and close sign. And of course, the first thing that pops in my head is the ghost movie and him annoying him at any time. No, not. And he's like driving her absolutely bonkers. So yeah, I always kind of wondered, that's gotta be wild to,
Yes.
have that.
And
How do you create an open and close sign though? I mean, how do you even do that?
Yeah. Brown, will be Goldberg's character. And my sister actually calls me Odame Bran. You would with any human, So when I wake up in the morning, I say my open hours today are A to Z, and I'm closed from X to Y or whatever it is, so that they know when I'm open and when I'm closed. But I have to set the boundary every single day, because a new spirit might come today that wasn't here yesterday. So they don't know what my office hours are today. So every morning when I wake up, I have to let them know, like, okay, these are my open hours, but later I'm going to dinner and having drinks with my friends, and I am not open later. You have to be very...
Well, yeah, it's not like you can put an ad out or put it up on Google. It's like, these are my hours. Don't, yes. I don't think spirits are Googling anymore, but
right.
Yeah.
And imagine if I couldn't do that. Like, I would be working all the time, and I wouldn't be in the human world. I'd be like in the spirit world all the time, talking to dead people. But you have those spirits that are like, I think the door's open a little bit, and they try, right? And I'm like, no, the door's closed.
Yeah. It's my family time right now. Leave me alone. Yeah, because as I say, otherwise it would be very hard, I would think, to be present with your family or
Yes.
whatever area or whatever you're trying to focus on.
Yeah, just living would be hard, right? Like cooking or going to the grocery store, like you'd be constantly bombarded and you'd be so stressed out because um again, you wouldn't know who the message is for. So it's like, why are you even telling me this message? I don't have anyone to give it to. So that's why it's
Right.
great when you can contact a spirit on demand, someone who knows they're coming for a reading. I can contact that spirit right then and there and give the reading and then tell them, okay, the reading's over. Goodbye.
Yeah, and I know you're big on, like intentions and grounding. So I guess that's one way that you can set your intention, so that you can align better and improve your daily interactions. Because if you don't, like you said, boundaries, intentions, just like, psh, this is
Yep.
it. Wow. Yeah, that is just really, really incredible. I just think that's got to be an amazing experience.
It
But
is. Yeah.
to do all that. So can you maybe elaborate on the process of, because I know we've talked, well, we didn't really talk about it here, but I know grounding intentions and all that stuff. So can you elaborate on the process of grounding and its role and how it and enhances your psychic abilities?
Sure. So grounding is really important because whenever you are doing these visualizations or whenever you're able to raise your vibration, so let me back up a step. So when you're a medium, you are raising your vibration and spirit is lowering their vibration so that you meet them in the middle. And that's where the word medium comes from because you're meeting them in the middle. So I have
Okay.
to raise my vibration. I basically have to take all of the energy in my body, release it throughout the top of my head and have it go up as far as I can. And when you do that, you can get very lightheaded, you can get dizzy, you can feel sick, you can get a stomach ache. So it's very important before doing that that you ground yourself because you need to get those grounding cords to come all around you through your root chakra all the way to the ground so that your physical body is grounded and you can feel that grounding for whenever your mind is going to go up higher out of your body. So that you don't get sick and so that you don't feel lightheaded. And sometimes you still do, but it will pass. But yeah, so it's really important to ground your physical body while your mind is going to go up and up as far as it can go.
Yeah, I know that's hard to imagine, but I think it's kind of goes along with energy work a little bit because a lot of people, the energy. Because I've been learning more about the chakras and the energy. It's like I said, it's an amazing what is out there. But maybe can you provide some insights on the transformation that's maybe someone might experience through the consistent meditation practice, the grounding, what they would expect?
Yeah. So, again, it's not really meditation. It's that taking that one step further of the visualization, but they can expect to get more vivid with it. They can expect spirit to start giving them messages. So, like I was saying before, if you say envision a balloon and then an ocean comes in. So now the ocean is there. And now you have to take it that step further of asking, is there a spirit here? Did that spirit just create this ocean? Why did you just create that ocean? So you have to start thinking of them as almost a human that you would start this dialogue with. And then it takes a lot of practice to figure out what your clairsense is so that they're going to give you an answer. Because it might be a visualization or it could be a feeling or it could be an audio sensation. So it's really a matter of just like anything else, practice, practice, practice. And that's what my program has. It has basically everything in it from grounding, from protecting your energy to raising your vibration, and then the steps of how to connect with spirit, how to communicate with your spirit guides, just anything you would need to know. And I know it works because that's what got me to where I am today. It's everything that I had to do written out for someone who doesn't know what to do. So yes, it's a lot, but again, you're only going to be doing this for 20 to 30 minutes a day. And it's not like I can guarantee after the 90 days you're magically going to become a psychic. But what I can guarantee is you now have the tools. And if you keep doing all these exercises, you will become a psychic, whether that's a healer or a medium or whatever that person has, because we all have unique psychic abilities and we might have more than one as well. Because I can also do spirit guide readings, but I don't know. The mediumship are definitely my favorite.
Yeah. You find where you live. So do you ever communicate like with your own lost relatives? Can you?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's amazing. And even like now when someone passes away, like I haven't cried at a funeral in a long time. I don't even remember the last time I cried at a funeral because I know I can still communicate with them. So, it's different when it's a belief versus a knowing. When it's a
Mm-hmm.
belief, you're not sure. But when I know I can still talk to them, it just completely changes things.
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, so they went on vacation, but you can still call them up and
Yep.
and talk to them or say, hey,
Yeah.
whereas the rest of us is like, okay, unless you're telepathic, I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you feel like you can't get those answers.
Yeah. And I know I'll see them again too. That's a whole nother part of the spirit world, knowing that you're going to see them again. Whenever I go to the spirit world, I know they're all going to be there to welcome me. So I know I'll be able to see them.
That's got to be a cool feeling. We have a few minutes left, Brandi. What else would you like to share with everybody? What is most important that you want them to know?
I think the most important thing to know is that these are very real and to not dabble with them. Like some people might play with the Ouija board, for example, and you can play with the Ouija board as long as you know how to do it correctly. Because if you're not doing it correctly, you could have something negative enter your space that you don't want. So, if you're just like playing around and doing a couple of exercises that maybe you read in a book or that you found online, there's a lot more steps to it versus just opening your energy and thinking this is magically going to happen. It's a very step-by-step process to really protect yourself and do it in a safe and wise way versus just trying things out and not knowing like what's going to happen. So yeah, I definitely recommend having a mentor, even if it's not me, just so that they can do it in that safe and wise way versus just dabbling and trying out things that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I spoke with one person one time that talked to someone else, and all of a sudden the next day they got a call from that sentence like, "Oh, how did you sleep last night?" It's like because apparently they sent like dark spirits, and she's like, "Don't mess with that. Don't do that again."
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's kind of amazing. It's amazing what's out there,
Yeah.
but
And that's a good point too. A lot of things do happen in our dreams. So, dream interpretation is a whole nother thing. And I do that in my program as well. But a lot of people get messages from spirits in their dreams because we don't have our guards isn't up whenever we're sleeping, so we don't have
for
those
her, I
like,
think she sent her visitors. I'm not sure it was a dream. I think she sent her visitors to
oh boy,
pretty much
okay.
wake her up at night, and they were dark visitors, and she was not impressed with her.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Why
like,
would
why
someone
would
do
you do
that?
that?
Yeah. Why would someone do that?
Wow. Well, and obviously, so we've got it. So the best way for them to contact you would be your brandyvan.com,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
And we'll have all your other social media links, but you're also on Facebook, Instagram,
Yes. Those
right?
are the main ones. Yeah.
Those are the main ones. So, well, I want to thank you really for taking the time to share all that. And I'm so excited for you and happy for you that you have gotten to this place, that you are comfortable and happy in sharing that. Because, like you said, being judged, feeling like you're alone in all of that is no fun, and it's no way to be. So,
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that would love to contact you and find out and to help them know that they're not alone as well.
Yes.
So
And those
I
are my
want to.
people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your people, as us, like my tribe, my peoples.
Yes.
We keep
Absolutely.
building our tribe, our peoples, our community.
Yes.
So, but thank you very much for taking the time to be with us here today. And everybody, remember, you can go to youtube.com at Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross, like and subscribe. That way you can not only hear from Brandi, but we've had a lot of phenomenal speakers, and we've got a lot more coming up. So make sure you stay in tune, but we will see you next week. And thank you everyone for joining us.